recalls the first flight of this primitive biplane making aviation history. As the two brothers prepare to attempt the first catapulted takeoff, man's age-old dream of flight becomes a reality.
Back when people first dreamed of flying, the sky was a place full of arguments and big talk. People like the Wright brothers, Alberto Santos-Dumont, and Percy Pilcher crashed a lot before they ever got close to flying. With their big dreams and shaky flying machines, these early birds faced more nosedives than smooth landings. Let's jump right into the drama, where every crash and win stirred up more chatter and pushed people to invent cooler stuff. Orville and Wilbur Wright, a couple of bike shop owners from Ohio, made history with the first ever flight that used an engine in 1903. But getting to that point meant a lot of broken parts and hurt pride. The Wrights were more than just smart guys, they were hands-on learners who saw each crash as a chance to get better, not just a mess to clean up. Their stubbornness and skill, especially in figuring out how to steer planes, were key, but their secret-keeping and fights over patents make some wonder, were they true trailblazers, or just out to block others from the sky? Then there's Alberto Santos-Dumont, the charming Brazilian who made flying a big deal in Paris. Unlike the private Wrights, Santos-Dumont loved the spotlight, amazing people with his bold flights. In 1906, he pulled off what many say was the real first powered flight in Europe, sparking a hot debate that's still going on. Santos-Dumont didn't just see flying as a tech challenge, he thought it should be for everyone, making him a hero to some and a naive dreamer to others. Percy Pilcher from Britain might be the biggest what could have been in early flying. A pro at gliders, Pilcher knew a lot about how to get off the ground, especially how important wings are. Following in the footsteps of guys like Otto Lilienthal, Pilcher was super close to flying with an engine when he died in a crash. We're left guessing how his ideas, like using different kinds of wings, could have changed flying sooner. Did we lose a big leap in flying tech when Pilcher died? These early flyers, with their big wins and epic fails, are why we can fly today. But there's a lot of drama around their stories, from fights over who was first to questions about how far they'd go to reach the sky. As we watch planes zip across the sky now, it's worth asking, what did we give up for all this progress? Beyond these famous names, there were loads of unknown people and flops that also helped us fly. What secrets and struggles from these forgotten tales have we missed in the big story of how we conquered the sky? The Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, from Dayton, Ohio, have a story filled with drama, secret battles, and hard-won victories that changed the world. They weren't just inventors, but dreamers who turned their bicycle shop earnings into a ticket to the skies. Their journey to make the first powered flight was a roller coaster of highs and lows, challenging everything we knew about flying. From the get-go, these brothers were on a mission. Inspired by the tragic death of a gliding pioneer and intrigued by early attempts at powered flights, they used their bicycle shop money to dive into the world of aviation. This self-funded path gave them the freedom to experiment wildly without anyone else calling the shots. It was their game, their rules. Control was the name of the game for Orville and Wilbur. They tossed aside the common belief that planes should balance themselves. Instead, they looked to birds for inspiration and invented a way to twist the plane's wings, a method that's still in use today but in a more advanced form known as ailerons. This was their secret sauce for steering and keeping the plane stable. Their big experiments started with a simple kite in Dayton in 1899. But soon they realized they needed better conditions to test their ideas, leading them to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Even with a perfect spot, their first attempts didn't soar as expected. The glider they built in 1900 just didn't lift off well. In 1901, they hit another bump. Even after making their glider bigger and adding more curve to the wings, they couldn't get it right. This was a make-or-break moment. They found out that the flight data everyone used was all wrong. Instead of giving up, they doubled down, building their own wind tunnel to get the real facts. This was a game-changer. By 1902, their hard work paid off. They created a glider that not only had better wings, but also a smart way to control it using a movable tail. This breakthrough was huge, setting them up for the big day in 1903 when they finally made the first powered, controlled flight in a heavier-than-air machine at Kitty Hawk. This wasn't just a big win for them, it was a leap forward for everyone. But here's where the controversy kicks in. Were the Wright brothers heroes, or just savvy businessmen who kept their secrets too close, slowing down aviation progress for everyone else? They fought hard to protect their inventions, leading some to wonder if their secrecy was for the better or if it held back the growth of flying. As we dig deeper into what happened after their famous flight and how it shook the world, think about this. Did the Wright brothers open the doors to the future of flying, or did they keep those doors closed tighter than necessary, making it harder for others to follow in their footsteps? It's a debate that's as alive today as it was over a century ago, and it's a story that keeps us questioning the true price of innovation and success. Alberto Santos-Dumont's life is a tale of daring dreams, dramatic falls, and a debate that stirs the pot of aviation history. Born in Brazil in 1873 into a family with a knack for engineering, Santos-Dumont was destined to reach for the stars. His early move to Paris, a city buzzing with new ideas and inventions, was the perfect playground for a young man obsessed with taking to the skies. Starting with hot air balloons he crafted himself, Santos-Dumont quickly became a star in Paris, flying his creations with flair. But it was his adventures with dirigibles, these big, steerable balloons, that really got people talking. Picture this, the skies of Paris, dotted with Santos-Dumont's airships as he sailed from point A to point B, winning hearts and prizes, like the big Deutsche de la Muerte prize in 1901. But here's where the whispers start. Were Santos-Dumont's beloved dirigibles a step forward? Or was he just clinging to old dreams while the future of flying was heading elsewhere? Now, let's move further down the rabbit hole with the 14 bis, Santos-Dumont's leap into the world of airplanes in 1906. This wasn't just any flight, it was a record breaker that threw Santos-Dumont into the history books. But this victory opens a can of worms. Some say this flight makes him the true pioneer of aviation, overshadowing others like the Wright brothers. This debate isn't just about who flew first, but who dreamed bigger and dared more. Then came the Demosay monoplanes, sleek little planes that seemed to predict a future where everyone could fly. These machines were ahead of their time, hinting at a world of personal flying gadgets. Yet Santos-Dumont's path was anything but smooth. His career was a roller coaster of breathtaking highs and dangerous lows, including a near-fatal crash in 1901 when his dirigible almost turned into a fireball. These close calls beg the question, was Santos-Dumont a fearless innovator, or did his obsession with flying blind him to the dangers? Santos-Dumont's story takes a dark turn towards the end. Haunted by the sight of planes turned into war machines and battling illness, he stepped away from the limelight, a broken man. His tragic end in 1932 leaves us wrestling with tough questions about the price of genius and the dark side of innovation. So, as we circle back to Santos-Dumont's legacy, we're left hanging on a cliffhanger. Was he a visionary who soared too close to the sun, or a tragic hero crushed by his own dreams? His life story isn't just about the thrill of flight, it's a reminder of the thin line between brilliance and madness. What's your take? Did Santos-Dumont change the game for the better, or did his dreams fly too high, only to crash and burn? Percy Sinclair Pilcher could have been the first person to fly a powered plane, but fate had other plans. Born in 1867 in Bath, England, Pilcher was drawn to the skies from a young age. His journey began in Glasgow's shipyards, famous for their top-notch engineering. Though he started as a naval architecture teacher, his passion for flight truly set him apart. Pilcher dived into the world of gliders in 1895, creating the Bat, his first success. He didn't stop there, going on to build the Beetle and the Gull, each more ambitious than the last. His masterpiece, the Hawk, built in 1896, showed off his deep understanding of flight. This glider wasn't just good, it was revolutionary, carrying Pilcher over 250 meters through the air and smashing the world record for the longest glide. But Pilcher's dream soared even higher. He set his sights on powered flights, influenced by other flight enthusiasts like Otto Lilienthal and exchanging ideas with peers such as Octave Chanute. He was close to making history with his triplane, which had a simple 4-horsepower engine. However, tragedy struck in 1899. During a demonstration meant to raise money for his project, Pilcher crashed and died at just 32 years old. This accident didn't just cut Pilcher's life short, it also stopped what could have been the breakthrough in powered flights, potentially beating the Wright brothers to the punch. Years later, Pilcher's story gets even more intriguing. A 2003 documentary and research by Cranfield University suggests a big what if. They built a replica of Pilcher's triplane with a few modern tweaks for safety, and it flew, proving Pilcher's design was on the right track. This revelation stirs the pot. Could Pilcher have been the true pioneer of powered flights if only he had lived a little longer? Pilcher's tale is a mix of achievement and tragedy, sparking debates and what-ifs among aviation buffs. It raises questions about who really deserves the credit for the first successful powered flights. Was it the Wright brothers, or did Pilcher pave the way? His story is a reminder of the many unsung heroes in the shadows of history, their potential achievements lost to time. Pilcher's legacy, overshadowed by bigger names, challenges us to think, how many other would-be pioneers have we missed? And how might their ideas have changed the world if fate hadn't intervened? The story of making flying safe has the craziest dynamics, with plenty of crashes teaching us how to avoid the next one. At first, planes were pretty risky, with little thought about surviving a crash. Then, Hugh de Haven, who lived through a shocking mid-air crash, came up with crashworthiness. He started asking, why can't planes be safer? His ideas led to safer seats, the use of seatbelts, and even crash dummies to test out his theories. Digging into crashes, especially those because of air traffic control, ATC mistakes, shed light on all the things that can go wrong in the air. This led to big changes, making accidents rarer and flying safer for us all. It's like solving a giant puzzle, figuring out how to keep a plane safe in the sky. Today's planes are built tough, with seats and floors designed to keep you safe if there's a crash. But as planes got safer, a new problem popped up: too much automation in the cockpit. It's great for reducing errors, but it's made some pilots too dependent on computers, risking their basic flying skills and awareness. This shift to automation has sparked a hot debate. Are we trading pilots' hands-on skills for computer controls? Training now tries to keep a balance, making sure pilots can handle both the high-tech stuff and the old-school flying. The impact of crashes on how we see flying has been huge. Initially, every crash scared people away from flying, but as flying got safer, thanks to learning from past mistakes, people started to trust it again as a safe way to travel. The industry's push for transparency and safety has played a big role in changing perceptions. But here's where it gets controversial. In our rush toward perfect safety and automation, are we losing the essence of flying? Is the skill of flying being replaced by autopilot? This debate between relying on human skills versus machines is at the heart of aviation's future. It makes you wonder, in making flying as safe as possible, are we forgetting the art of flying itself? In the early days of flying, 3 heroes stood out: the Wright brothers, Alberto Santos-Dumont, and Percy Pilcher. Their stories are not just about who flew first, but also about the battles and bold moves that lifted them into history. The Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, are famous for their 1903 flight, which is often called the birth of aviation. They worked in secret, away from the world's eyes, figuring out how to make a plane fly and stay up. But their secret ways make some people wonder, were they trying to help everyone fly, or just keep their inventions to themselves? Then there's Alberto Santos-Dumont, the showman from Brazil who in 1906 flew his plane in Paris for everyone to see. Unlike the Wrights, he loved the spotlight, showing that flying was possible and exciting. Some say his openness did more to get people excited about flying than any hidden test flight ever could. Percy Pilcher might have beaten them all if he hadn't tragically died in 1899 before he could show off his powered flight. Some think that if he had lived, we'd be saying his name instead of the Wright brothers when we talk about the first to fly. These pioneers stirred up a lot of debates. Did the Wright brothers hold back the progress of aviation with their secrets? Did Santos-Dumont's love for drama and attention actually help push aviation forward? And what if Pilcher had survived? Could he have been the true father of powered flights? Their stories are more than just history. They're full of what-ifs and controversies. They didn't just fly, they sparked a worldwide fascination with the skies. But the question remains, was the race to the skies a team effort, or was it driven by personal glory? What do you think? Aviation's journey from dangerous beginnings to today's safe flights is a story of turning disasters into lessons. Back when flying first started, it was super risky, highlighted by the first death in a plane crash in 1908. This tragedy shouted for change, leading to new rules and the first steps towards safer skies with the Bureau of Air Commerce in 1926. The crash that killed Newt Rockne in 1931 was a wake-up call, pushing planes from flimsy materials to stronger aluminum. This wasn't just about using different stuff to build planes, it was a whole new way of thinking about flying safety. Wars, surprisingly, made flying safer. The needs of World War I and II sped up tech advances, from navigation improvements to switching from old biplanes to sleeker, more efficient monoplanes. Even radar, which helps pilots know where they are, came from this time. The FAA and NTSB in the US became the big bosses of aviation safety, setting rules and investigating crashes to keep flying safe. Their work has helped make air travel super safe today. Tech has been a game changer for safety. Jet engines in the 1950s made engine troubles less common, and new digital tech has made planes more reliable. Also, figuring out how pilots and planes work together has cut down on accidents caused by human mistakes. Even with more planes flying than ever before, crashes are rare now, proving how much safer flying has become. This shows the power of focusing on preventing problems before they happen. The brave early pilots who faced crashes and dangers have taught us a lot. Their stories are not just about the risks they took, but about never giving up, leading to the super safe flights we have today. Moving forward, aviation keeps putting safety first, mixing new tech with a deep understanding of how pilots and planes work together. Ever since the first person looked up and saw a bird flying, there's been a burning question: why can't we do that too? This question isn't just about curiosity, it's about challenging what we think is possible and pushing the limits. Imagine just for a moment if we could take Leonardo da Vinci's old drawings and bring them to life with the technology we have today. Leonardo came up with ideas for parachutes and even early helicopter designs hundreds of years ago. But what if he had modern tools and materials at his disposal? Could he have launched the age of flight even earlier? Or are we giving too much credit to these ancient concepts? Let's stir up the pot a bit more. In 1783, the Montgolfier brothers made history with their hot air balloons, giving people their first taste of leaving the ground. But was this truly groundbreaking, or just a small step on a much larger journey? Fast forward to the late 19th century, when gliders and the first powered flights began to take shape. John Stringfellow's steam-powered machine flew in 1848, but it's hardly mentioned in the same breath as the Wright brothers. Is history fair in who it remembers and who it forgets? Speaking of the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, they're hailed as heroes for their flight in 1903. But just before their success, Samuel Pierpont Langley failed miserably. Some say Langley was just unlucky, while others argue the Wright brothers were simply better engineers. But here's a thought: what if luck had nothing to do with it? What if there was a bit of secret sabotage or espionage involved? The early days of aviation were competitive and cutthroat after all. World Wars I and II transformed planes from novelty items into essential war machines. Planes went from being used for simple reconnaissance to carrying bombs and engaging in dogfights. But let's delve deeper into the realm of what if. How different would our world be if the airplane hadn't evolved so quickly during these wars? Could battles and borders have been dramatically altered by the mere flap of a butterfly's wings in the realm of aviation development? Post-war, the aviation industry skyrocketed, with Boeing leading the charge. The development of jet engines, pressurized cabins, and even the iconic Boeing 747 changed how we see our world, making it smaller, more connected. Yet the Concorde, a marvel of engineering, ended up being a commercial flop due to its noise and operating costs. Was the Concorde a failure of imagination, or simply ahead of its time? And here's a more controversial thought. Are we too obsessed with speed and convenience, willing to overlook the environmental and societal costs? Now, we're at a crossroads. Flying is safer and more accessible than ever, but the disasters of the past, like the Hindenburg, remind us of the risks. And with the future looking towards flying cars and space tourism, we have to ask, are we flying too close to the sun, pushing the boundaries of what should be pursued? Let's not stop there, though. What if the next big leap in aviation isn't just about going faster or higher, but redefining what it means to fly? Imagine personal flying devices that make cars obsolete, or silent planes that can cross continents in minutes without a sound. Are these dreams or potential nightmares? I'm throwing the challenge to you now. What's your take on the future of flying? Are we headed for an era of incredible innovation, or are we flirting with disaster by ignoring the lessons of the past? Could there be a dark side to our quest for the skies, one that we're not ready to face? Let's open up the floor and dive into these questions, because the sky's not just a limit, it's the beginning of the next big debate. Thanks for soaring through history's bumpy ride with us. If you loved reliving these high-flying dramas, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your thoughts. Until next time, keep aiming high.